Coach Mark, are you guys in too?
I'm not in yet, I'm still working on it.
Okay. Mike, are you in?
On YouTube.
Kelly, you're in, and Joey's in. Ann, are you in over there too?
She's in.
Mike, are you in? Okay, I think we got a couple still working, Chris, but we can, in the interest of time, we can go ahead and get started. We've got a follow-up meeting coming up right after this one, so. Okay, we'll get started. Then we're on, right, Myron?
Yep.
Let the record show it is 2:44, and I'll call to order the special call meeting of the Durant Community Facilities Authority of March the 30th, 2021. We will dispense with the flag salute, but Chief, would you mind leading us in an invocation, please?
Thank you for asking. Please pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you today just seeking guidance, Lord, that you give us clear minds and soft hearts and a clear understanding, Lord, about the city's business. Be with our first responders, our military, Lord, and keep and protect their families and themselves as well. Lord, each member represented here today, Lord, just bless them for their service to the city. I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Chief. Flag salute's still important. We're thankful every day for go ahead and do it.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks. Play ball. The secretary will call the roll, please.
Trustee Baxter,
Here.
Trustee Dillard,
Here.
Trustee Gosnell,
Here.
Trustee Grover,
Here.
Trustee Morris,
Here.
Trustee Pierce,
Here.
Trustee Tuttle, Vice Chairman Webb,
Here.
Chairman Tomlinson.
Here. For the record, all members are present, and we appreciate and thank you for your attendance today. We'll get right to the order of business. Item number 1 under administration is the discussion, consideration, and possible actions to fund the construction of a new animal control shelter and renovations to the existing animal control shelter. And we have our city manager here in attendance. We have Mr. Marty Cook back there too, and we have Chief Hauser who is here to make a presentation. I might take just 1 minute, Chief, and remind the authority. We've been here before, but in the trust indenture of the Durant Community Facilities Authority, the authority for this authority, if you will, it will be the following statements and or purposes of the trust. But for several years, this authority's main focus was on, of course, our sports complex, our facilities at Southeastern, the new arena, and the improvements to the football field and stadium, and of course then all of the new construction, from the dirt work to the fields themselves out at the sports complex. The authority's focus for some probably 16 years now, maybe 17, close to 17 years, has been to provide the debt service with those 2/4 cent sales tax, and along the way some necessary improvements to the complex, Southeastern, and some maintenance issues at the complex, et cetera. And we funded those, or we had to approve those costs. More recently, and somebody will have to help me out here, but the primary one that comes to mind is the senior center. Not only the including the purchase, but the renovation of our senior center. The funding, the city came to this authority to request assistance in that funding, and this authority was generous and gracious enough to approve that. I think recently we approved another item, another request from the city, the parks, Carl Albert specifically, et cetera. But just to help in the definition of the authority's purpose, and there are probably 5 or maybe 6 of the in the definitions of the purpose of the trust, but one in particular is to promote, finance, and develop any other projects or facilities which will provide public facilities and/or aid the beneficiary of any other level of government. And of course, the city is the beneficiary of the Durant Community Facilities Authority Trust. So that's pretty broad. The others are more specific. Some refer to sports, housing, parking, or just a number of other things that, again, until just recent months, this authority's focus was more on the original focus, if you will, again, of the sports complex in Southeastern. So I think we're here again today with a request coming through our police department, from our police department, but through the city itself. And I've probably said enough, so Chief, the floor is yours.
Chairman, trustees, thank you for hearing me today. It's exciting to be before you to present this city facilities proposal. And you're exactly right. Those are beautiful facilities that we've funded so far, and I hope we can continue that type of business. I'm going to draw your attention to the screen, and I'm sure you've read the material that was in the agenda item, and it's not my intent to cover that again, but my intent to walk you through our current facility and then ask Shane to help me show you the proposed facility. So if I draw your attention to the screen, this is kind of where we find ourselves with our head in our hands with the current facility. And I like to think of it as the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is one of my favorite movies. I love Clint Eastwood. I love the idea there. So as we go through this short presentation, I want to walk you through the good, the bad, and the ugly of our current facility. The good thing is we have one, right? We have a spot that we can pick up the animals and take them to, but the bad part about it, it's kind of small. But if you walk in there, it does have a corner office. That's the good. But you can see the shape that it's in. That's bad, all right? When you first pull up to the animal shelter, it's very uninviting. This is not where someone wants to go to adopt or rescue an animal, right? This kind of reminds me of death row for animals, although we'll get to that one in just a second. This is not a very inviting shelter. But you know what? It is air conditioned on the inside, so that's a good thing about it. Remember, we're talking about the good, bad, and the ugly. The bad thing about the air conditioner, it sits on top of a tub where the water collects, and we have to empty that tub out for the condensation for the air conditioner. But the good thing about it is it's well ventilated. All right? It does have a single water source. This entire building has a faucet outside, and this is the faucet that we use, to water the animals and to wash down the urine, the feces off the facility. But what this facility doesn't have is a restroom for our own employees. That's the bad. It does have spacious accommodations. If you look there on the left-hand side, it's got plenty of room for a few animals. It's got plenty of storage. However, the plenty of storage takes away on the right-hand side for extra storage for, you guessed it, the animals. This is an animal control facility, not a storage facility that we're having to use it for. It's just a small area, and obviously the more storage we use there, it's not accommodating for the dogs as well. We do have a veterinarian center. That's the good. You can see we have about enough space for a couple of bottles of peroxide if needed. So the veterinarian center in that small animal shelter obviously is not adequate. But let's talk about some good. We have luxurious outside accommodations. And as you look at this picture, burn this one into your mind, because this little fellow, we'll come back to this photo in just a second because it's important. Now, the luxurious outside accommodations that we find ourselves looking at right here obviously is the outside of the shelter. Believe it or not, the outside of the shelter is the best aspect of the total shelter. The outside is so much better than the inside. They've got more room. It's a concrete pad, shielded from the weather on occasion. And we have, well, what we like to call is general pop, or the day room. This is the recreation area. This is on the back side of the shelter. They have actually a very spacious pad. And all kidding aside, this is probably the most usable space of our animal shelter. It's got, an inside and an outside door. They can come into one kennel and go out into the general population, enjoy some outside, the sun, whatever. And the kennels in the very back there that you find, there's 4 or 5 of them, and they're in pretty good shape, unlike the ones on the inside. So the recreation area, this is one of those spaces that we plan to maintain and continue to use with very little remodeling in the future. But in this small, uninviting facility, when you walk through the front door, this is the floor you see. It does have drainage, right? But this concrete is flat in most areas. The areas where it has low spots is not the area where the low spots are needed. Basically, you're washing the urine and the feces out of the pens, and it should flow to the center, to the drains. It doesn't do that. It stands in pools or puddles. You can see the one slightly up from the hole in the floor there to the left. And this is the area to where, when that pools, our employees have to take a squeegee and squeegee the mess to the floor drains, if you will. There's a floor drain up close, and there's a floor drains in bad. Why do I call this ugly? Because that's the close-up of the first one that you see. Even though it is a floor drain, these floor drains drain to a pipe that goes out and opens into a field, 25 feet, if that, from the facility itself. No septic, no sewage, no anything. It just dumps out onto the ground. And then there's your other one that you can't see from the farther away. You can almost smell it, can you not? You can almost smell it. Remember this guy? I said, hey, we're going to come back to him. He's in that luxurious space to the outside. The problem with that is, if you see the white wall on the left of that picture, when we wash his urine down and his feces down, it simply goes off the concrete and into an opened, simply dug dirt drain. And I call it a drain kind of tongue-in-cheek because it doesn't go anywhere. It sits there, and it smells like it sits there. Here's a close-up of what you're looking at when you wash it off and it goes off the concrete and onto just the edge. You can see the close-up there. That white wall is the same white wall that dog's looking at on the inside of his luxurious accommodations. And then further down on the south side, our best feature of the animal control is that outside pen on the very back. That's what it looks like on the drainage for that. So when we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, that's really the ugly. So this statistically is what we did last year. We picked up 521 dogs, 121 cats. And do you remember when I said what this looks like to me is death row? Our employees do a fantastic job of animal rescue. Out of those animals that we picked up, those dogs and cats in 2020, we actually had to euthanize 23 of them. That's not bad. We work well with 3 rescue organizations that takes dogs and cats and rehomes them, rescues them to other states that would love to have pets that don't have the number that we do. And we work very well with those. I got to ask you this. If your pet was to get loose, probably don't. A lot of people say we have a pet problem in Durant. We don't have a pet problem in Durant. we have a pet owner responsibility problem in Durant, right? If everybody was responsible pet owners, we wouldn't have animals at large. We wouldn't be picking up these animals. So it's a re-education. So if your pet got out, would you like your pet to be kept in our good, bad, and ugly facility? The answer is probably absolutely not, because here's the point. Happy animals, like you guys probably have at your own homes, they need a nice place to stay as well. And that's what we're here for today. I feel like I'm on an episode of Shark Tank. But, this is what we need. We need a facility for happy animals to be rehomed, re-rescued, and replaced somewhere other than Durant. And this is what we're looking for. This is, we've retained the services of Shane Knight as an architect, and this is what he's drawn up for us. I think it's going to be a really nice facility. The bids come in just like this, and this was in your packet. Almost $500,000, a little over $500,000, and then $458,000 was the lowest, probably best bid. Currently, we have set aside $79,000 in our capital improvement. Make no mistake about it. When the bids come in, we were not expecting, this drastic of a charges. But concrete construction costs have just simply skyrocketed, and we suspect that that's a lot of the cost. So our need today, Sharks, if I can, is $379,000 to make the facility happy for the animals that we want to put in it. And with that, and in the essence of time, I would like Shane to come up, and he's going to kind of walk you through a 3D version on his CAD system of what your $390,000 will go towards the city facility, if you may. Thank you for your help.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, and thank you guys for having me today. So I am just going to do a quick little, this is just a 3D model of the construction drawings that we sent out. And I'm just going to try and walk you through a little bit of what's on the outside and what's on the inside. This is actually just a model of the current facility. Let me, oh, sorry. I'm having to drive from a long way away over here. This is what you are looking at for the new facility. So you can see the building itself is quite a bit larger. The area to the east, in between the old building and the new building, is actually the area where Chief Hauser was just talking about. The waste from this facility is currently draining into this area. We're going to pick up that waste along with the waste on the west side where the exterior kennel was there. And we're going to bring all that around and underground to a septic tank that sits back in this corner of the facility. That septic tank will catch all that waste, and it's in an area where they can come and have that pumped regularly. So we will get the facility sanitized. The grassy area to the east, they intend to use that as a walking or exercise area, if I remember correctly, Chief. And we do have some new handicap parking. We show a lot of this parking outside as being gravel, because that is currently what is there. The hope is that they can end up paving this over time. We do have a dog catchment or unloading area after they've come in with pets or dogs or cats. They've got a fenced-in area here to unload those in. And we have a front door to the facility that will enter into a small lobby and office space. And I'm going to try and find, I have a shot of that as well. So upon entering into the front door, we've got a small lobby in the middle. We have the office space in the front corner here with the reception window and enough desk area for 2 employees. They will also have their technology and data run out of that room. And then a slight improvement to their veterinary area. We've actually provided a full veterinary office here with tables, some animal storage, laundry facility, as well as a wash station in the facility here for them to be able to wash the animals and provide any veterinary, medical, that sort of thing that they may need. And then I'm going to take you around to the back of the facility to show you the kennel portion. So we are now on the south side of the facility. This is the main kennel area where the dogs would be kept. It's an open air. It is air conditioned. Not quite the ventilation that Chief Hauser was pointing out earlier, but we do have full air conditioning, plenty of lighting. We have some exterior fans on the end of this as well, so that they can open this up during nice weather, air it out and get some fresh air in. One thing that I don't think I did do was we've got one storage room here, one behind this door for them to be able to keep supplies and food in. And then behind this second door to the exterior is actually a, I think they call it a cattery, which is where they will keep the cats that they pick up. I've lost my mouse. Oh, there it is.
Saying it's really called a cattery?
I think it is called a cattery, yes. It is a room specifically for cats, and they have their own special kennels and all that kind of stuff that goes in there.
You see that on the Tail Waggers commercial, they've got a cattery.
So this is, again, just a quick model of your proposed facility. I don't think there's any questions about what else may be going on inside. I'll be happy to try and answer those, or Chief Hauser may have some more information than I do.
I've got a question for probably the chief. Does the $458,000 include any things like kennels and furniture and stuff like that?
Absolutely. That 458, and correct me if I'm wrong, if this is a turnkey, it's going to be finished on the inside. It does not include office desks, but it does include the finishing, the kennels, and this, that, and the other. Sure does. Thank you for asking. And Shane, I appreciate you even showing the old facility in with the new. We're going to remodel that old facility. It's not going away. We're going to gut it, remodel it, and use it as a quarantine facility. That way, when pets come in, they start there, make sure they're not sick before they move over to the nicer facility. So there's plans to integrate both of those. And absolutely, thank you for showing that. Any other questions? Well, I appreciate you guys' time to entertain this city facility. And again, we're asking for $379,000 that you consider building this thing for the animals and the pet owners in Durant. If there are no other questions, thank you so much.
John, do you want to add anything?
I have nothing else, sir.
Okay. I might add that John and Chief, this has been a need for years. John and Chief, I think I've been working and researching on this for not just several weeks, but a few months, and
Was it the intent that we'd be able to get it done for 79,000, or was, I mean, I'm just seeing this for the first time. I was just curious as to why
370.
we're just now seeing it.
I can certainly address that.
Yeah.
We didn't know what it was going to cost us to build it.
Right.
And me, as over the animal control facility,
Right.
throughout the years, we've asked for 20,000 and 20,000 and
Sure.
hopefully to add to or remodel or build another one with zero construction. I'm a policeman, not a builder, right?
Sure.
So I threw out some guesstimates of what we thought we could get it done
Right.
for and tried to piecemeal it together
Right.
until finally the city manager comes and said, listen, we've got the cart in front of the horse here. Let's do this thing right. Let's hire an architect and then let's see what it's going to cost us. And that's what brought us here today.
Yeah, I think in my question, maybe it's on a grander scale, and I love our work at the senior center. Carl Albert Park, we were out there last week, and they were still doing some stuff out there, and my grandson played, and so it looked great. Just, I think the last three projects we've seen have been, planning is done, we know what the funding is, DCFA, you've not seen this before, but now we need a few $100,000 for this project, or 379 for this, and I guess my just concern is I guess I'd like to know more about it, other than just, getting the packet and we need the funding. If it's a project of the DCFA, I think I'd be more comfortable, moving forward. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm just.
And I'll let Chief and maybe Shane address that. As I understand it, you've got bids on this, right? Or quotes? And there's a kind of a time frame on, with the way costs have been escalating, et cetera. I think there was maybe a time crunch on that quotes, or those quotes, construction quotes and materials, et cetera, quotes. Being kept in place, so can maybe.
That is exactly right. And you've got some valid issues as well, some valid points. This was, again, with the direction of the city manager, let's do it right this time instead of guessing what we need to piecemeal something together. And the time restraints, Chairman Thomasley is exactly right too. So when the architects come up with the design and the bid specs, he helped us go out for bids. And those bids are good for a very short period of time because of the escalating costs of construction material. Well, it's our intent to try to put this on council agenda, in April, because after April, it's my understanding that maybe we'll have to go back out on bids again, and, who knows what would happen then.
How
Did that
many
answer your
bids? How many
question?
bids were there? Three.
3 bids, correct. And although the bids were astounding to me, the dollar amount, they were consistent. So I felt good about the consistency. I was overwhelmed by the dollar amount.
I think, and in the past, we've, the park and the senior center, that our approval has been an amount not to exceed, I believe, is how we've had the verbiage on those motions or considerations. And, with the assurance I'm hearing, I think that 379 is a good figure to complete this project. I think we'd be safe in considering the amount not to exceed the 379.
My other question is that you read the statute for the indenture. Have we asked city attorney if he feels like that this is something that's in our purview to spend money for?
John, I think we did that on the senior center project. And again, falling under the same definition or the same purpose of the trust. And I understand this is, as I mentioned earlier, for some 16, 17 years now, our main focus has been on 2 facilities, the Southeastern campus and the Durant Sports Complex. But in recent months, leadership has, brought before this authority a couple of requests that fall, again, under the purpose of the trust indenture of the Durant Community Facilities Authority. So And to address Chris's question again, the legal perspective by the city manager has been in the affirmative.
I'm not sure that I need to know more. I guess I'd just like to know that that's something that we're working towards, I guess, on these projects. Yeah, I mean, if it's just, since the bid, we realized that the DCFA is our source of funding, I'm okay. I'm okay. I guess I'm kind of a planner, and I just kind of like to see down the road, and if that's in our plan, I can be excited about it and look at the planning of it and be fully on board.
Right.
You know,
I understand
I'm not
completely.
trying to put oil,
Right.
you know.
Right,
fly
I
in the
understand
ointment,
completely
so-
where you're coming from, right?
Yeah.
The 450 plus was not what we expected,
Right.
right? So we weren't prepared for that, to say, wow. And we knew this was something that was in the scope of the authority, and so we decided to ask for your assistance.
Sure.
Like on the senior center, we came before we started anything, right, and asked for your approval because we knew that was a project that was going to be outside of our
Significant, sure.
ability, and so we did involve you guys in the process from the beginning. And had we known this was going to be an expensive project like this, we would have done the very same thing.
Got it.
So I understand your
Okay,
concerns.
yeah, I'm just,
So
yeah,
it was just the way it all shook out. It's like, wow.
I got you.
So,
Yeah.
but it's a need, and it's like Mr. Tomlinson said, it's been a need in this community for a long time. And, you know, as Chief said, we've kind of put 20,000 here and 40,000 there and 20,000 here. We think we might can do something. And, you know, I truly believe that whatever we do for this community should be first class, and it should be the best. So we're getting the best bang for our buck. So that's, you know, that's why we're here. And I wish you were involved from the very beginning. I wish we didn't know it was going to cost $450,000 too. So.
I'm no control freak. I was just,
Okay.
it's
So-
just,
But,
yeah,
yes,
just,
sir. I just wanted you to know that
yeah.
it
like
was
the
not
planning.
the intent to.
Sure, I got you. Yeah,
So,
that's good.
Well, I don't think anybody can argue with the need, you know, what you've shown, what Chief Hauser's shown, what the city's shown. The need for that facility in our community makes it better all the way around. The need for the senior citizens, the need for the area at the park. But as Chairman Thomason said, we've gone back, I guess this is our 16th year, 17th year of being under the sales tax. Well, there's some needs in some of those places that the initial intent was. I know we've done some things at the sports complex and things like that, and I'm not against doing those, but is there an appetite for looking at a maintenance or a thing for the facilities that were originally put in place by this authority?
such as,
Well, upgrades to the sports complex, you know, on maybe an annual basis. I know there's needs there. There's needs
Right.
at Paul
And-
Ed Field that we
Well,
use as a
I'll
community.
piggyback on that and say, you know, we entertained a proposal about, not necessarily a proposal, but for lighting out at the multi-sports complex a month ago. Am I right?
Hmm.
And what was 1.7 million? I mean, that's a lot of money.
Right.
So are we going to be prepared to at some point be able to spend 1.7 or $1 million on new lighting, which is going to eventually have to happen?
well, I would say the answer to that is no, unless the sales tax was extended, right? Because this sales tax expires in '24. So in 3 years, you're not going to have $1.7 million to do lighting. So,
We don't have the financial report here in front of us. And John, you'll have to help me here, but as I recall, the reserves and the financial report are in good condition, good status as far as our reserve and
yes, sir. I believe there's
the
just
sales
over.
tax growth over the years. Actually, since the inception of this sales tax has, on an annual basis, grown each year. So, I guess long story short, there is that is what has lent itself to the ability that we've entertained and considered and taken action on as far as the senior center. As far as well, I don't know you know what the balance is. Again, we don't have that in front of us. We have roughly 3 years and maybe a month or so to the termination of this 20-year,
I believe it's June of
1/4
'24.
June of '24. So we continue to have, 36, 7, 8 months ahead of us as far as collection and service of debt.
Right.
I guess it would just leave one to consider what would the balance or balances be upon the conclusion of that debt service terminating, and what would we want to entertain to do with those monies at that time.
Right. We can get a projection on that if you'd like, sir. I mean, based on historical.
And even looking forward, the lifespan of this authority would probably terminate somewhere in '24 also,
I believe that's correct,
with the,
with the tax.
yeah. So there'll be some considerations, as I see it, maybe with some of the funding. If it's sufficient enough, even at the, the end of the term, that we'd have some decisions to make, and either for the city benefit and or directly for the complex or university improvements. So lots of things to kick around and discuss as far as where and when and what, but the city's here today with something for us to consider, and I appreciate the fact that you've kind of been under a time crunch on it. I think we've all witnessed construction costs just going out the roof, particularly in the last year. Kind of no end in sight to that, right, Shane? But anyway, any other questions for John or for Chief or for Shane as we consider this action?
Thanks for your consideration.
Thank you.
Any questions at all? Any discussion? Further discussion?
As an animal person, I'm in favor of having a new facility. I think, from my perspective, and this is just one guy's perspective, I think I'm more in favor of a review by this authority, just of a proposed plan for action, for funding of projects just like this one. I'd love to see this one happen. But I would love to see it in the scope of what, if we have 3 years remaining in this process. I think, just personally speaking, I'd just like to be more involved in it than just a yay or a nay today, but to actually see that I have some type of a plan in place that I can actually get behind, and I hope that plan would include this project. But that's just one guy.
See, John, you're currently working daily, along with staff, on the fiscal 21-22 fiscal budget. Yes, sir. And that comes before council, and actually, the Dcfa budget would come before this authority in June, May or June, May. Yes, sir. May. I'm sorry. Okay. And I'm just kind of thinking out loud, this could be a part of that budgeting process to maybe address Vice Chairman Webb's concern.
Yes, sir, it could be. We'll more than likely have to go back through the bid process, though, because the bid's only good for 30 days, so that 379 could be 479 at that point.
The
so
numbers could change, yeah.
could be 279. I don't know, but it's not the way prices are going right now, so.
Chief?
Yes, sir, and thank you for the questions. One thing I failed to mention in this whole process is the 20,000 and the 20,000 that we've asked for previously. We actually use those dollars. We have the structure purchased, laying on the ground, ready to go up, which is not included in the $458,000 bid. I failed to mention that earlier, but that is one aspect as well. But thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Any other questions or comments for Shane or for Chief or for John?
My concern is, are we being good stewards of the money that the citizens entrusted us when they voted on this bond? Are we obligated to finish the sports complex, light it as the people were promised? I mean, I know Mr. Webb and I were concerned about the community center crossing, playing the presidents of people approaching us with their pet projects, and I said pet projects last time, not because of animals this time. That, you know, this would be a continuing thing to come seek funds from this authority. And my concern is to finish the project that the people voted on without taking the verbiage of the bond and, you know, interpreting it in a manner that maybe the people didn't know that was there. I think they knew the arena, the football field, the sports complex was the goal. And I just feel like, and we were approached about lighting a month ago. I think it should be completed. It's just my opinion. I think that's what was promised to the people, the citizens of the community, and I think we should follow through with it and complete it, and then consider other projects if there's money in the end. That's just my opinion.
Thank you. Others, any comments, questions? I think the agenda calls for discussion, for consideration, and possible action. May need some Robert's Rule of Order here, John. Help. I'd like to leave it open for discussion. Indeed, if we take no action today, but I think what I'd like to do at this time, and in the interest of time, is to open up the floor for a motion.
I make a motion today, we approve a contribution not to exceed $379,000 for the construction of an animal shelter as shown by Chief Hauser.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion? Any further questions? Any further comments? Hearing none, the secretary will record the vote, please.
Trustee Baxter?
Nay.
Trustee Dillard? Nay. Trustee Gosnell?
Nay.
Trustee Grover?
Nay.
Trustee Morris?
Aye.
Trustee Pierce?
Nay.
Trustee Tuttle?
Nay.
Vice Chairman Webb?
Nay.
Chairman Tomlinson?
Aye. Our motion fails. And I'll just, I think this will be in order. What I would like to recommend as the chairman of the authority to the city manager and to the chief is that we listen to the comments and concerns addressed today by the authority members. And if indeed those can be addressed and answered either through the budgeting process and a look into the future that would provide some a comfort level, if you will, of the finances through the term of the bond issue. That would maybe give some direction to not only myself but to other members as to, yes, that funding could be there, would be there, to think about a year from now or 30 days from now. Does that make sense? So I would like, on behalf of the authority, to see if that's a direction we could go. And this authority would be more than happy and more than willing to meet again, either in special meeting or I think our next scheduled meeting is not till May. Don't hit me on, Cindy. June. So we'll have a budget by then. Matter of fact, we may need to meet in May to approve our budget. My goodness, this is, in 2 days, it's April. So I want to thank this authority for its frankness, its honesty, questions and concerns, and I just want to thank you for that. Thank you for being here. That's what we're all about. And entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Motion?
Second.
Second? Secretary will record the vote, please. Vice Chairman Webb.
Trustee Baxter,
Aye.
trustee Dillard,
Aye.
trustee Gosnell,
Aye.
trustee Grover,
Aye.
trustee Morris,
Aye.
trustee Pierce,
Aye.
trustee Tuttle,
Aye.
vice chairman Webb,
Aye.
chairman Tomlinson.
Aye, motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you all again. Thank you.